So it's a blockbuster summer here at the Center for Spiritual Living Modesto. And so far this month, we have given nods to 2 blockbuster movies of days gone by proclaiming our Independence Day and by getting Back to the Future. You'll recognize those movies. And actually, we got back to the present while creating our amazing future, because when do we create what we experience tomorrow? We create it right now, right here in the present. So just where are we going to go today? Today is all about being fearless in our willingness to grow out of old habits that do not serve us and to gently move into new ones that do. And if you were here on the first Sunday of the month, you'll remember our Independence Proclamation. As I declare my independence from ways of living that no longer serve my highest good, I have the freedom to make new choices. Does anybody remember that? That was 2 weeks ago. I know. Some of us have slept since then, so it's sometimes, to bring these back. But if you ever want to re-listen to, these talks, they are online. So good way to remember some of these points. And today we're going to talk about exercising that freedom to make new choices, realizing that old habits do not have to die hard. I got another movie title in there. All right. There it is. That's the title of today's blockbuster, Die Hard. Old habits, those way of thinking, speaking, doing, and being, old habits that do not serve us, can die away, and it doesn't have to be hard, right? A lot of us think that some of these growth processes that we have to go through are hard, and so we just don't want to do that, but they don't have to be hard. But sometimes it seems that they do die really hard, doesn't it? In fact, Charles Fillmore, he was the founder of Unity. And when I was reading some of his works, this just spoke to me. He said, "We want instantaneous healing out of our diseases, but we are loath to sacrifice the mental habits that cause them." Boy, that just sums it right up, doesn't it? It's like, well, we want this, but no, we don't want to stop our mental habits that are creating that experience. For example, there was this rabbit that was raised in a laboratory. And one early morning, before anyone arrived, he managed to break free. And as he scurried away from the fencing compound, he felt the grass under his little feet and saw the dawn breaking for the first time in his life. Wow, this is great, he thought. And it wasn't long before he came to a hedge, and after squeezing under it, he saw a wonderful sight. Lots and lots of other little bunny rabbits, and they were all free, and they were all nibbling on the fresh green grass. And he called out, and he says, "Hey, I'm a rabbit from the laboratory, and I just escaped. And are you all wild rabbits?" "Well, yes," they said. "Come and join us." Our friend hopped over to them, and he started eating the grass, and it tasted so good. "Well, what else do rabbits do that are out in the wild?" he asked. "Well," said one of them, "you see that field over there? It's got carrots growing in it." And he says, "We dig them up, and we eat them." And so he just couldn't resist this. And so he spent the next hour eating the most succulent carrots that he'd ever tasted, and they were wonderful. Later he asked them again, "What else do you do?" "Well, you see that field over there? That has lettuce growing in it. We eat that as well." Well, the lettuce tasted just as good, and he returned to the group a little while later completely full. "Is there anything else you guys do?" And one of the other rabbits came a bit closer to him and whispered in his ear, and he said, "Well, there's one other little thing that you must try. You see those rabbits over there? Those are the girl rabbits. Go visit them. You'll know what to do." Well, our friend spent the rest of the morning doing what rabbits instinctively know to do, and came back to the group of boy rabbits, and he said, "Well, that was great." He says, "This was really a great time here." And so the other rabbit said, "So you're going to live with us now?" And he says, "I'm sorry. I had a great time, but I can't." And the wild rabbits all stared at him a bit surprised. He says, "Why? We thought you liked it here." He says, "I do. In fact, I love it here. This has been the most fantastic day of my life, of my entire life. But I've got to get back to the laboratory. I'm just dying for a cigarette." Okay, that's really a bad story, but it gets the point across, doesn't it? We experience and we see what we can have out there, but we go back to what we're used to, what's comfortable, what's easy, what habit we've always had. And sometimes our habits have that very, very strong pull on us and can keep us from experiencing our fullest and our highest expression of God that we came here to be, and from living an expanded, joyous, God-filled life that we came here to live. Am I right? Am I right about this? So today we're going to look at a couple of habits that just might not be supporting who we came here to be. But first, I think it's important that we realize that these habits are acquired. They're not inherited. Your divinity, your DNA, your divine natural attributes, that's inherited. But habits, every last one of them, from the minor little habits, maybe, peeling your nails or biting your nails, to annoying, life-threatening habits, every one of them is acquired. And what you can acquire, you can unacquire, right? You can master it. You absolutely can. You just must really want to. And you may need to have patience. How many of us are not very patient with ourselves when we start something new, or, we get frustrated? And yeah. We did talk about patience a little bit last week, didn't we? And here it is again. And I often say that if you had to pick one lesson in life that I came here to learn, it is patience. Breathing, patience. I love the words from Thomas Troward, a man who had a huge, huge influence on Dr. Ernest Holmes. And this is from the Edinburgh Lectures. Light reading, just, pick up the book anytime. Yeah. But he says, the sincere endeavor to act up on our new mental attitude is essential. But our repeated failures to fully act as if we would wish must not discourage us. It is the sincere intention that is the essential thing, and this will in time release us from the bondage of habits which at present seem almost insuperable, which means insurmountable. He was from England after all, but he was raised in India. So he had an interesting way of writing, but it's amazing. And you can see, when you read Troward, you can see the influence that he had on Ernest Holmes. It's just amazing. So our first idea this morning is to take a look at our overall pervading mental habits. Now, I'd like to think that all of us new thoughters, our mental habits would generally be positive, right? We know that what we think is creating our experience. So I'd like to think that our overall mental habits are pretty much positive, and that we would have a generally affirmative, spiritual-based outlook on life. Agreed? But do we? Do we really? This is kind of a rhetorical question. Or are we still hanging out with the nattering nabobs of negativity going on in our heads? Now, anybody know who said?
Spiro.
Oh my gosh, you're good. Or did you hear me practicing?
No.
Okay. Nabobs of negativity going on. That was Spiro Agnew. Can you believe that he remembered that? All right, don't play Trivial Pursuit with him. You'll lose every time. Anyway, he was talking to the press, but I am not. Ernest Holmes, in his new design, A New Design for Living, wrote, "The limitations we find encircling us have but one source. They spring from our thought. They are the result of our negative habitual thought patterns, conscious or tucked away in the subconscious, which may have been instigated by our past experiences or by the blind acceptance of what now appear to be the wrong ideas and concepts of others." Wow, that's huge. Do you habitually go down the ain't it awful and it's only going to get worse road? Whew, boy, I have to put that roadblock up when I'm talking to certain people, because that's where they're going and I don't want to go there. And it can be that way when you're watching the news as well. It's such an easy trap to fall into. And I can fall into it with the best of them. Our entire spiritual philosophy is based on identifying new ways of thinking. And in fact, we have, here's a plug, the author of a book called A New Way of Thinking, and he's going to be here on Friday night, August the 1st, to speak about that book. New ways of thinking that are aligned with our DNA, standing for what? What does our DNA stand for? Divine natural attributes, right. Not ways of thinking of what someone else told us. sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's so easy just to hear what someone and just agree with them because, well, okay, that works. But actually stepping back and, do I really believe that? Is that really what I am going to subscribe to? That was another polyism. I'm not going to subscribe to that. And I thought, wow, how many of us subscribe to some of the general universal conscious ideas that are out there just floating along? It's easy to pick those out. It's amazing. So we want to look at ways of thinking that are founded on spiritual truth principles. I love this simple but really, really profound affirmation. I am now shown new ways of thinking. Think, where do you go in your mind when a challenge occurs? Where do you go in your mind when a challenge pops up in your life? For me, change can be really scary, and I have in the past jumped straight into the fear train. Fear. What does fear stand for? False evidence appearing real. Whew, boy, I jump on that train immediately and my mind just spins so fast. You know, it would be so great if it could spin that fast going the other way into the positive. I remember getting a call. This is a true story. Back in 2005, and I've learned from this. I never go to the doctor before I go on vacation. When you're going to have test results coming back, I never do that because, this happened to me and I thought, wow. And I was on vacation and I had blood work done and a test came back a little questionable, right? Now, I had no symptoms of anything. I felt great. I felt fine. And I got a call from the physician's assistant who had such fear and such, we're going to refer you to a specialist and it could be this or this or this. I mean, she was just speculating all over the place, but boy, was I off with her. And I had to physically stop myself and bring my thoughts consciously back to the truth and know that I am whole, perfect, and complete, and I am dynamic and vibrant and radiant, health in expression, and all is well in my world. I'm on vacation. I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, And I focused on the truth of my being, and I really, what I embodied was just this incredible, perfect health. And when I came back, I had the test, and it came back. Another retest. Everything was perfectly fine. What a bunch of wasted energy. Wow. Because I jumped on her fear train. Not going to do that. Not going to jump on anybody's fear train. Not going to do it. And I've changed more than one health diagnosis in my life. And I will tell you from personal experience that my doctors have not always been happy. They've been a little irritated because their egos are involved and they don't want to be told they're wrong. They don't like that. Or they don't want to think that maybe they made a mistake. Or, but it could have been a mistake at the lab. It could have been, who cares? The truth was the truth, and it came through, and that's all that really mattered. So, that was an interesting experience for me. So think personally. Do you have a habit, habitually negative thought or two, that still hangs out in you? Do you have a habitually negative thought or two that still hangs out in you? That comes out when a challenge confronts you? Okay, does everybody have that? Keep it in mind, and then say with me out loud, I am now shown new ways of thinking. I am now shown new ways of thinking. Let's do it again. I am now shown new ways of thinking. One more time. I am now shown new ways of thinking. Okay, what is the new way of thinking you have been shown right now? Talk to me for a moment. Tell me, what new way? What new way of thinking has come to you? Anybody?
Positive. Turn negative into positive.
Okay.
Forgive.
I forgive. That's powerful. Any other new ways?
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love. Oh, yourself and others. I love that. I unconditionally love myself and all others.
Let go.
I let go. I let go of thoughts that do not serve me and fill my mind with positive. Anything else? Any other new ways of thinking? Okay, all right. So let's talk about procrastination and delay. I often tell you that I write these sermons as much for you as much for myself as I do for you. And this is especially true for this idea. Ernest Holmes in Richer Living writes, "The universe is an orderly system of intelligence, and we exist in it as orderly spiritual beings. Procrastination and delay are unknown to the divine." Well, the divine might not know it, but I sure do. Okay. They're unknown to the divine presence and should be unknown to us. Okay, there's that word should. Time, spiritually understood, is an orderly method of living easily. Its sole value is measurement. Many people develop an unconscious resistance to time and are habitually late for appointments. These same people usually find their demonstrations delayed because they are in a consciousness of delay. That was an aha for me. I thought that was amazing. Wow. Wow. Can you imagine, if you're habitually late for things? If you set that in motion as your truth, then your demonstrations, you may find them delayed because your consciousness is there. Isn't it amazing how far our consciousness stretches out and touches different areas of our life? It's pretty amazing. Who's ever been in an Edwin Gaines workshop?
We did book study.
Right. Okay. Who's taken our Prosperity Now class using Edwin Gaines, the 4 spiritual laws of prosperity? Okay. You've heard of Edwin Gaines? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, powerful, powerful woman. She is a beautiful, powerful prosperity guru. She is awesome. If you've ever heard her, you will remember what she says about prosperity law number 3. And does anybody know what prosperity law number 3 is? Oh, come on. It's only been, 3 or 4 years since we had that class? Okay. And you slept since then. I know. All right. So number 3, prosperity law number 3 is set clear goals. Set clear goals. And here's how she says to do it. Consider everything you would like to do, have, experience in your life, and then make a written list of them. Wow, that can get expansive. Just go for it. Write it out. And then take 12 that bubble up to the top and write out clear goals for those 12 things. Then she counsels us with this wisdom. If we don't do it in 3 days, we probably won't. If we don't do it in 3 days, we probably will not do it. And there's really truth. There's a lot of truth to that. And if we don't do that, we probably also don't experience the life that we would love to experience. Remember, people who procrastinate usually find their demonstrations delayed because they are in a consciousness of delay. So, how's this? Here's a new affirmation to counteract that. I am now shown new ways of living, new methods of work. I am not confined to the ways and methods of the past. Does that work for you? Mm-hmm. That works for me. There's the old Nike phrase that really does apply here. What is it? All together now?
Just do it.
There we go. Just do it. All right. It's a little old, but it's still out there. If you are a procrastinator, what are you just going to do this week? Do you have an idea? Do you have an idea of what you're just going to do this week? Let's all shout it out at once. What are we going to do this week? I'm going to...
Just do it.
Okay, but do you have what? Can you give me a specific?
Exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Exercise.
Get that license for that 1924 fire truck.
Okay, there we go. Anybody else?
Clean out the excess junk in my house.
Ooh.
Did you at my house?
I thought you were going to say one room, Ginger.
Pick a closet, pick a drawer. That's a great way to start. Anybody else? What are we just going to do this week? What are we just going to do? I'm going to exercise. I'm just going to do it. Yeah. I'm going to clean out a drawer, a closet, maybe not the entire garage. I'm just going to do it. Get started. Because what is it that Goethe always says? Genius has... I can't think of the quote, but the moment you start moving, you are supported by the universe. When you make that commitment, that intention, the universe rises up and supports you. So let's talk about one final habit today, and this is addictions. And addictions are habits that are taken to extremes. And this is a big topic, but I want you to hear something very, very, very important. You are not your addiction. You are not your addiction, whatever it is. If it's drugs or alcohol, food, sex, shopping, drama, I can relate to food and drama and shop. Anyway, whatever it is, you are not your addiction. You are not. So, what was that?
You said cigarettes.
Cigarettes, yes, huh? Okay. You're not your addiction. You are more than this. You are more than this. We've all had addictions of some kind. So put your hand on your heart right now and say after me, I am more than this. I am more than this. Holmes wrote in a book entitled Alcoholism, published in 1941, and I'm going to replace the word alcoholics with the words those with addictions. He said, if those with addiction seek self-destruction through oblivion, it is because they have not been acquainted with themselves or their true relationship to the universe in which they live. They have not known that there is an inner completeness, a spiritual wholeness to their real natures. Surely it would not be amiss to tell them this, and so I tell you this now. Just as an analyst gently and with deep understanding leads clients away from illusion and self-deception, so the spiritual mind practitioner, which is what our center offers, must lead those with addictions to a new and better realization of their unity with the cosmos, pointing to the spiritual truths which they must practice for themselves. Because what is everything? Everything's an inside job, right? Nobody can do this for you. We all must go within and do the work ourselves. Florence Scovel Shinn said in The Game of Life and How to Play It, the student must form the habit of practicing the presence of God every minute. Every minute. In all thy ways acknowledge him. Nothing is too great, too small, or too great. But the good news is you don't have to go it alone. The gentle way of letting old habits die comes easier when you are loved and supported through it. And then you can love and support others through it, right? There's this letter that was published a while back in the Science of Mind magazine. I think that's where I got this. And it went something like this. After a few rocky years of adult life, I found myself in a dark place. I was always irritable, quick to snap a sarcastic response or an evil glare in anyone's direction. I was driving, talking to my husband, teaching my children with this underlying discontent. I only recently started to understand that over many years I had slowly become dependent on the happiness of those around me. How many of us have fallen into that trap? If they weren't happy, I had to figure out why and fix it fast. This was draining me, shadowing my love from those who deserved it, and so very self-defeating. Those are some bad mental habits. I remember a day almost a year ago, like it was yesterday, sitting in a coffee shop with a friend, watching her happily tell me about her new weight loss. Her bubbly spirit in my face, teasing me like the distant sound of an ice cream truck. I wanted it. I could hear it, but just couldn't find the strength within me to get up and go after it. I asked her, what is it you do? What do you do to be this happy, right? I mean, how is it you're always so happy and upbeat? I hope to hear about some miracle pill. Wouldn't that be great? Well, I take this pill and, my world's wonderful. Or a trendy new exercise routine. How many of us have stacks of DVDs and tapes of exercise gurus that we're going to do, right? Okay. But she responded, well, I go to this great church. And at the very mention of the C word, I deflated, settling back into my comfy coffee shop chair. My friend continued a bit more about healthful living, and then she said, there are no Bibles or pictures of Jesus. My ears perked up a little and my eyebrows lifted. She explained that her church was only one of many paths to God, and I'm free to define God as I choose, which I've always known, but I thought I was the only one that thought that. This mental picture was starting to look like a delicious, divine casserole, yummy and beautiful ingredients, each one representing a different and right path to God. And my spirit began to salivate. I was desperate. This skin I was in wasn't me. This discontent wasn't my destiny. And as I vented to my friend about everything other people did that caused my unhappiness, another mental habit that does not serve or support us, she responded with her usual grin and said, if you can't change it, change the way you think about it. And that was my light bulb moment. I took the name of the church and researched it that very night. Of course, I was hesitant, cautious, speculative. To my surprise, I couldn't find anything that disagreed with the beliefs that I'd always had deep down inside of me. I read all about the Centers for Spiritual Living that night, carefully going over the facts and the what we believe sections. All the arrows were flashing and pointing like a cheap Las Vegas hotel, right? This is your place. This is your place. This is exactly what you have been craving. The weekend after the coffee shop chat with my friend, I visited the Center for Spiritual Living for the first time. I sat motionless during the announcements and just gazed at the beautiful symbols on the back wall, trying to find the hidden Bibles or pictures of bearded white men. I couldn't find either, and at that point I realized that this was different. All the vibrations of the gong, as the vibrations of the gong drilled through me, they had a gong apparently, that would be fun. We have a bell. Anyway, my cheeks grew flush. My palms began to sweat, and the tears came. They rolled out of my eyes like I'd been punched in the gut, and I sat there quietly as I could, sniffing and trying to make sense of what was really happening inside of me. I did that for another 3 weeks, and looking back, I see that the energy of this church was cleansing me, washing the debris off the canvas so that a new and more beautiful picture could be painted. This is the old habits were being washed away. As I approach the end of my first year at the center, I can take a small step back and look at the canvas that was once flimsy and painted full of gray clouds. It is now just a clean canvas with fresh soil at the bottom. Thanks to a good friend in a coffee shop 11 months ago who planted the seed, the grass is beginning to grow, and I can't wait to see what a beautiful garden awaits me. This is the testament to the power of God, the power of the love of God through a dear friend who introduced her to she could learn to gently and easily wash away old habits and instill new ones. Remember, you are love. You are the love of God in action. And whether you've learned the habit of mental negativity, procrastination, addiction, or a myriad of other habits that do not serve you, each and every one of them can be washed away when you choose to find a better way. Old habits don't really have to die hard, and this morning we let them die easily, by washing them in the power of God's love. And as the new habits take hold and you let your light shine, and if someone out there takes notice and asks, how come you're always so upbeat and happy? Don't hesitate to share with them the wonderful Center for Spiritual Living that you attend. Pay it forward, right? And so it is.